Hello everybody, Assalamu alaikum. Okay, hope you are doing well. Okay, so let's continue with our review. If you have any question, you can let me know from the last class. Okay, so now today we will be discussing from the chapter demand, supply and equilibrium. Okay, chapter 3 to 7. So what's happening over here? The demand means that this is the amount of good that will be bought at a given price over a period of time. Okay, so did you get it? What is this? That means that how much we are demanding. Like it's very similar to want. It's very similar to want, but it's backed by ability. Okay, that means purchasing power. Okay, and these are the characteristic of demand. Desire, yeah, this expresses the desire to buy a good at a given price and backed by purchasing power. Okay, so see that. Let's draw a demand curve. Oops. Okay, let's try it here. Okay, so see, demand curve is like a downward sloping curve, right? In this axis, we can put price. Over here, we can put 0. And here we can put quantity. Okay, quantity demanded. Okay, so see that what's the relationship between price and quantity demanded? That suppose the price was this much. Okay, suppose P1. I'm sure by this time you already know this, but I'm starting from the basic. Okay, then Q1. Now, if the price falls to P2, if the price falls to P2, then what will happen? Quantity demand will rise, right? Because think about your favorite food. If the price falls, then what happens? We tend to buy more, right? Okay. So see, let's use an arrow over here. Okay, so see, very simple. This is a downward sloping curve, and it shows the inverse or negative relationship between price and demand. When price rises, demand falls. When price falls, demand rises. Okay, and so this is how it works. Okay, so next what we have here is the change in demand curve. Okay, well, the change in demand curve are like two types. Like this is known as movement along the demand curve. Okay, so when the price is changing, see, when the price is changing, this will be known as movement along the demand curve. But when the non-price factors, suppose these factors, any other factor except price changes, this will lead to shift of the demand curve. Okay, so let's draw a shift over here. So in this case, what's happening? So this is shifting to the right. Okay, from D1 it's shifting to D2, a total new demand curve. Okay, and see that when it's going rightwards, it's getting away from 0. Okay, so that means demand is increasing, right? And if it gets closer to 0, it will be known as a leftward shift. And that means demand is falling. Okay, and what's the reason behind it? The reason behind it is the non-price factor. The change in demand will be caused by the non-price demand factors. Okay, so the price is the only factor which leads to a movement along the demand curve, and these non-price factors will lead to shift of the demand curve. Okay, so there are some more over here. Okay, so let's discuss about them. I hope we are clear with the price. Now let's talk about the demand. Okay, so if demand rises, what will happen? Sorry. If income rises, what will happen? If income rises, demand will also rise. It will shift to the right. Okay, and if income falls, demand will fall. Okay, that's the normal situation. So there are two cases actually, and it can be normal goods, okay, or inferior goods. Normally this is the situation what happens that we just mentioned, that if income rises, demand will also rise. But think about a situation where the opposite thing may happen. Okay, usually it happens for low quality goods. Okay, so these are known as inferior goods, where demand falls as income rises, and vice versa. Okay, so an example for inferior goods could be public transport services. Okay, so if your income rises, then you will not go for more public services. Instead, you may go for a private service. Okay, private transport maybe. Okay. Next, population. If population rises, what will happen? Demand will rise, right? But it depends on the demography, like what kind of population we're talking about. If the young generation, number of young generation increases, then the goods that are demanded by the young generation will increase. The demand for only those goods will increase. And if the elderly citizens increases, then what will happen? Then the goods that are demanded by the elderly people, those will increase. Then rise in advertising will also increase the demand, right? There is a saying that there's nothing called bad advertising. Even a bad advertising may lead to increase in demand. There are many examples all around you. Have a look at them. I'm not giving you any example. Okay, now let's go to fashion, taste and fashion. So it doesn't remain same, right? So think about a fashionable goods. Fashionable goods, definitely the demand will be high. But the same goods, when it goes out of fashion, the demand falls, right? The same goods. It depends on the trend or the taste and fashion. Next is interest rate. If interest rate rises, then cost of borrowing money will increase. Okay, so it will be difficult for the people to borrow money. Okay, so what will happen? Demand will decrease. Next we have price of complements. So the price of complements means like if the think of, let's think about what is a complementary goods. Actually, complementary goods or complements. So complementary goods means like these are the goods that are used together. Okay, we can't use them separately, we have to use them together. Okay, let me give you an example. Suppose price of fuel. Okay, so if price of fuel increases, what will happen to uh, demand for car? So to run a car, you definitely need fuel. Without car, we can run a fuel, and without a car, what's the use of fuel, right? So what will happen? Yes, it will decrease. So see, there is an inverse relationship between complementary goods. Okay, so if the price of a good increases, the demand for the complementary goods will fall, because it will be difficult to afford a car now, right? Next is substitutes. Okay, so substitutes are like alternatives. Let me give an example. Um, suppose price of tea. Okay, so if price of tea increases, then what will happen to the demand for coffee? Demand for coffee will fall, right? See what's happening? The demand for coffee is falling because the price of tea is increasing. Oh, sorry. Demand for coffee will increase. Okay, so see, it's opposite to complementary, right? In complementary goods, it was the opposite relationship, but here we are seeing a positive relationship. So if price of tea rises, then people will switch to coffee, all right, an alternative. So those who will think that tea and coffee are substitute, many will disagree, right? For them, tea and coffee are not substitutes. But if someone considers, if we assume that tea and coffee are substitute, then we'll see that if this kind of responses, if price of tea rises, demand for coffee will also increase. Okay, so if you have any question, let me know. Okay, because this class should be very interactive. Okay. Okay, so this is the situation over here. So we have gone through all those demand factors and supply factors. Okay, and we still have time. Let's move to the supply curve. Okay, so let's draw a supply curve over here. So supply, the definition of supply is like the amount of goods sold at a given price over a period of time. Okay. Okay, so see, there is a positive relationship between price and supply. Like think like now this time you have to think like a producer. Like when we talked about the demand, we thought like a consumer, but now we'll be thinking like a producer. Okay, so see, when the price was P1, the quantity supply was Q1. Okay, there's quantity supply in this axis. Okay, okay. So see now what's happening. The price is falling to P2. Okay, so what will happen? The quantity will also fall to Q2. Okay, so see, there's a positive relationship. That means both of them are moving toward the same way. Okay, right? Previously, the supply was this much. Uh, Now the supply is this much. Okay, so it's moving from one point to another. Okay, so this kind of change is known as movement along the supply curve. Okay, sorry, there is a mistake over here. It should be G. Uh, Movement along. Okay, so movement, there are again two types of change in supply. There's movement along the supply curve and shift of the supply curve. Okay, so why this movement along the supply curve is taking place? Because of the change in price, right? Just like demand, okay? And the non-price factor will lead to shift of the demand curve, okay? So these are the non-price factors, the non-price supply factors. Okay? This will lead to shift, right? So that means a totally new uh, supply curve will be there. Okay, previously this was S1, maybe. So when the supply curve will increase, it will shift to the right. That means away from zero. Okay. Okay, and if it gets closer to zero, then what will happen? It means a leftward shift. Okay, so that's the situation. Okay, now see what's happening over here, that um, I hope you understand that why this kind of relationship is taking place. That when the price is falling, what's happening to the profit? Think from a producer's perspective. That when the price falls, profit also falls, and as profit falls, the quantity supplied will also fall, right? Okay, so that's the situation over here. That and same here, over here, these factors, when these factors will lead to more profit or more motivation to the supplier, at that time you will find that there is a rise or fall in this demand or supply. Sorry, supply, right? Okay. So let's go through the non-price factors. Okay, so we have cost of production. So when the cost of production increases, what will happen? When the cost of production will increase, there will be a fall in profit, right? Hmm? Did you get it? Like you are not increasing the price. Maybe in this situation, this increasing the price is not possible. At that time, what will happen if the cost increases and the price remains same? It will lead to a lower profit. So it will be very demotivating for the supplier, and supply will fall. So there will be a leftward shift of the supply curve. Okay, next is indirect tax. Indirect tax means that this is a tax on spending. Okay, so the tax, that is a revenue, or they collect, the government collects this revenue from the people, from producer or consumer. So in this case, we will be thinking like a producer. Okay, so suppose this indirect tax or tax on spending is charged on yeah, raw material. Okay, then what will happen whenever the producers are buying raw material? What's happening that this price will fall. Sorry, the cost will increase, right? Because the additional indirect tax will increase the cost of production. Right now you have to pay more when you're buying raw materials, so it will again reduce your profit, and it will be demotivating for the supplier, and they will reduce the supply. So supply curve will shift to the left, right? Okay. Okay, next we have price of other goods. Okay. And so think about the producers, they have so many options. They can sell, they have so many options. So see that price of other goods, that means like when the goods are, there are different kinds of goods over here. So you can uh, have these kind of changes like um, suppose think about potato and carrot. Okay. Suppose some producers were producing potato. At that time, what's happening? The carrot, the price of carrot is increasing. Okay. When the price of carrot is increasing, what will happen? That means there is more profit now if you produce carrot. Okay. So what will happen to the supply of potato? The potato producers will think, okay, let's we need almost the same kind of resources to produce carrot, so let's shift to or switch to carrot production. Okay, so what will happen? The supply of potato will fall. Okay. Okay, then natural factors. Natural factors, suppose think about the natural disaster. So during natural disaster, very clearly you understand, right? What will happen? The supply will fall, right? Okay. Then change in, and if the natural factors are like there are sufficient rainfall and everything was in a good condition, then what will happen? The supply will increase. And next, let's talk about technology. So change in technology. So if technology advances, then what will happen to production speed? The production speed will increase, right? Let's think about like previously we used to produce clothing by using maybe our hand and needle, right? But now we are and then later on we used a machine, hand hand used machine. Then you used paddles. You can use your leg to for sewing clothing, right? So it increased the speed. And then again, we started using batteries and motors and other kind of technology. So what was happening that the technology was evolving and the production speed was increasing. Okay, and maybe previously it used to take a month to produce a single clothing, but now within a day, with the help of large machinery, and in future maybe even we'll be using robots. Okay. By that we'll be able to produce huge amount of clothing within a day. Okay. Okay, and next we have subsidies. Subsidies is like a help or a grant or some money from the government. So this is a very motivating thing for the supplier because it reduces the cost of production, because the government is bearing a part of the cost of the producer. Okay, so this will definitely reduce the cost of production, increase profit, and it will definitely increase the supply. Okay, so why government provides subsidies is basically to encourage production of a particular goods. Okay. Okay. Okay, so again, that's a very important topic. Supply factor. So we have two kind of change over here. So I hope you understood it properly. So if you have any problem, let me know. Okay, it should be a very interactive class. Okay, so let me know if you're facing any problem, and I'll be placing some assignments. Okay, and you have to submit that. That will be yeah, graded, okay, and take it seriously because it may be even used as a document. These assignments we are talking about, this can be also used as a document for grading your O level. Okay, so you should be very careful. Okay. 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 Okay, so we are done with supply. Okay, there's something called fixed supply over here. I think we missed that one. Okay, so fixed supply. So this is a situation when no matter what is the price, it remains fixed. Okay, so in this case, the supply curve may look like this. Mhm. Okay, fixed supply. Okay, so no matter what is the price, it will remain same. Okay, can you think of an example? Yeah, like a movie theater or stadium. Okay, so over there what happens, the quantity is fixed, right? You cannot increase the or decrease the uh, what the seats of a stadium of a movie theater, right? So what you have to do, you have to increase or decrease this price. You can increase or decrease the price, but it won't have any effect on the quantity because we don't have enough control over it, right? We cannot like throw out our stadium seats to reduce the quantity, right? Or we cannot increase it by adding more seats, but because when a seat of a stadium is bad, it's already like filled up with seats, right? Okay, so it's quite impossible to increase the number of seats, but maybe in the long run you can have a huge renovation and you can do that. Okay, but think it simply that there are situations where you cannot increase the supply. Right? Okay, so that's the situation. Okay, so our next topic is market equilibrium, but I don't think I'll be able to finish it by today. Okay, I'm starting it, but in the next class we may again start from this topic. Okay, so see what's happening over here, that mm, market equilibrium is a situation where the demand and supply is equal. Okay, so previously we talked about demand and supply separately, but now we will be talking mm, about a situation where we're it's together. Okay, and in real life it doesn't work separately, it's always working together, right? Because that's market, and that's also known as the market forces. Okay, so see that this is the place where demand and supply is equal, right? See, they're interacting, they're intersecting with each other in this place, right? So that's the equilibrium. Okay, so from there we'll get an equilibrium price, and again from this intersection we'll be getting an equilibrium quantity. Mhm. Okay, so this is a situation when demand and supply is equal. Okay, so that's equilibrium. It's also known as market clearing price. Okay, because at this price all the goods bought in the market will be sold out. Okay, so there won't be any kind of shortages or any kind of surplus amount of goods. all the goods brought into market will be sold out. Okay, so so that's why demand and supply is equal, and it's known as market clearing price. Okay. And from that we will get a formula. Okay, you'll find it very useful. Okay, there might be small maths from here. The total revenue is equals to price multiplied by quantity. Okay, so if you want to calculate the total revenue, you just need to multiply this price and quantity. Okay, then you'll get the total revenue. Okay, so by this way you can calculate total revenue of any person or any individual or any organization. Okay, like you'll just ask that person that how many goods you sold in a month, and how much was the price of a single good. Okay, so you'll find that you're having um, the total revenue. Just multiply the per unit price and the quantity sold, you'll get the total revenue. Okay. Okay, so see here are some examples. See that we use them all around here. Okay. Okay, so in the next class we will be discussing about the shift in demand and supply. Okay, and if you have any problem, let me know. Okay. Okay. Okay, then I think we won't be able to. We don't have enough time to continue this chapter, but I really encourage you to ask questions. Okay. um, you can even start with good morning. Okay, last year I used to use lots of good morning and everything. Okay, that's also a good way to start questioning and interacting with your teacher. Okay. Okay, so I think it's quite a good morning. You'll have sun, you'll have rain. Okay, all of them is there. Okay, so and okay, so have a positive mindset, and hopefully you'll have a great exam soon, inshallah. Okay. Okay then, see you in the next class. Okay, thank you everybody.